feel free to sign in.
Is there a requirement?
There's no requirement.
That's what they're trying.
Here's the boards.
So, Christopherleonjohnson here. We're live and at CB8, and we here at the Transportation Hearing Committee for Brooklyn Community Board 9. Let me give a disclosure that myself used to be a member of Brooklyn Community Board 8. I was removed by Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso in Brooklyn Community Board 8 in October 2023. So that's a big disclaimer. So we're live, but there's a disclaimer that I've been removed in 2023. So I'm not a member of the community board. As much as if I was on it expired this year, but 2025. But I'm not a member. So let's flip this over. So somebody here bought their what's up, man? Somebody here bought their foldable bike inside, and the reason they did that was because this neighborhood is still a dangerous neighborhood. People are stealing bikes. Bikes cost a lot of money. They cost like thousands. You steal one, you can make $1,000 off of it. The hood knows this, so it's good to they let them bring their bikes inside. A lot of places don't like bringing bikes inside because there's an insurance liability. So we're here. So the DOT's here, right here. They're doing a presentation for the bike lane, Committee Board 9, Bike Committee. Hello. So, yeah.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? This is a nice touch.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I city biked over and I was like,
So I like Daylighter. It's not bad. Just like this is not the community board. I think that's the community board 3. Is where what that's the community, where that homeboy died. It's sad. What they did was they put a bullshit speed bump, like a disposable speed bump, and bike racks instead. It's fucking stupid shit.
oh, was there an email recently?
So I'm gonna get my phone because they gonna present. The DOT guys, representative is here. I think they're talking about Brian Brown. Look at my Twitter. Looking at my Twitter, and I think Jeff Colton retweeted Dave Weigel. Lose Democrat, I think it's probably Brian Brown. They told me to see. Let me see what the hell is going on. Yeah, Brian Brown. So he's resigning from oh shit. He's resigning. He's going to resign from mayor of Buffalo, New York. Everybody know 2021 that he lost to India Walton, and she won because Brian got complacent and he thought like, well, I'm the mayor and who's running against me? Somebody who's mad about the light bill, and she beat him by a few votes. But he decided to run as a write-in candidate, and with the help of the Republican Party, won the cashapp for Congress in 2022. Who got backed by Gavin Mario Wax, who's a clown. He won. You know what I mean? It's packed here. It's really packed at this community board now. Wow. Give me a second. This is my seat, but. So. The guy right there in the puffy hair, the black jacket. All right then.
So I made it in all the way from Fenimore Street.
Yeah.
Songs bike lane. No, cause I'm in Flockner, so I ride the opposite way down the street to Bedford, and then I went all the way up.
Because it's
Bedford.
safer that way.
Yeah, yeah. Cause that's not that crazy. I always used to bike to these meetings.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because, there's no bus from where I live, and it takes a half hour to walk. But of course, if it's like snowing or raining or something, I'm not. I remember one time in a snowstorm, I walked here, and there were 3 people here, me, Beverly, and I think Augustine. That was all the people that made it in.
In a snowstorm? That must have been a hike.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, it's gonna be a full house.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Okay. Who's, let's tie it on this can.
Okay.
It's already a full house. It's already a full house. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
I can't tell how many. Right.
Oh, he's all right. Yeah.
If y'all want, you can see.
Sure.
Laptop? Just so y'all can.
Should we hear everybody? Sounds good.
And
More
also just like,
seats.
yeah, also just maybe your,
Anyone like a
yeah, yeah. I probably should too.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate your luck.
Give me a second.
For anyone who's wondering, we don't have copies, but it's on our website. Want to follow along through there.
All right, hey everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Ethan. I'm the chair of the committee here. And the purpose of this session is mainly to get feedback from everyone here and from the community at large on some of the plans proposed by DOT, and to just see if we have any issues with these or to help understand some alternatives and get a happy medium that works for everyone, ideally. All right, so you're going to hear from DOT, you're going to hear from a lot of folks who have been either working on plans like this or working on putting this kind of plan together. And it sounds like these where we want to hear from you and get feedback on what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and what a best case scenario could look like. So a lot of this format is going to mostly be in Q&A type. Oh, okay, better? Yeah. So the format for today will mostly be in the form of a Q&A, because we want people to be able to give their opinions, their feedback, their thoughts. And I assume there'll be times when you want to ask DOT to explain something or to clarify. Feel free to do that, and DOT or whoever can. In some cases, I might do that too. I clarify just to make sure that not only are you giving feedback and we're hearing it, but also that you understand what is being proposed here, for a future build. All right. So that's it for the intro. What I want to do is have everyone, if you want, folks at DOT, you can give a quick overview of the plan if you feel like it. If not, we can launch straight into Q&A and have people ask their questions and sort of unveil the answers as we go.
I think we could skip the presentation, go straight to people's comments. Let me just say before we get started that for those of you who weren't here last time, we came to the community board first with the proposal in June, and from there we're going and talking to a lot of different stakeholders along the corridor, and we're not done with those conversations. So this is part of that, and our hope is that we can get some useful feedback from you tonight. Get some more useful feedback from other stakeholders along corridors in the area, and come back to you with an updated proposal that addresses some of those concerns. And I want to thank the community board for setting this up and helping us get this feedback.
You're welcome.
I'll go first. Hi, hello. My name is Christopherleonjohnson. I live in Crown Heights. I know this is not my community board, but Crown Heights, since it's my neighborhood, still not my community board. But I want to ask, why the DOT, why is Transit influencing your plans? I don't see no real community input with this design. This is more like a Transit design. Can you explain why Transit, a lobbyist organization, a nonprofit that is owned by Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all these corrupt organizations, why are they influencing this design plan that's going to hurt this district, that's going to hurt this area? Can you explain?
Yes. This plan was not put together by Transalt. We put it together on our own, based on some of our priority safety geography. So I'll go look at a couple slides. If you're not familiar with Vision Zero, I went too far. If you're not familiar with Vision Zero, it's a plan where we look at all of our pedestrian severe injuries and fatalities citywide, and we revise this plan every few years, and based on the locations of those severe injuries and pedestrian fatalities, we come up with priority geographies. So Vision Zero priority corridors, priority intersections, and priority areas. And we use that as a way to focus our efforts for redesigning city streets to make them safer. Elena and I are part of the school safety group. So our specific goal is to improve safety for children and for people going to schools. And briefly, talking about the Vision Zero priority geography, Kingston Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor. Empire Boulevard is a Vision Zero priority corridor, and Rutland Road is also a Vision Zero priority corridor. In addition, there is a huge concentration of schools within a block of Brooklyn and Kingston Avenue, south of Empire. We've got complaints from the schools initially. The complaints we were getting, I think both from the CB and the schools, was about speeding and some dangerous driving behavior on these streets. We got complaints, remember which school it was? Was it Wingate High School? About drag racing on Kingston Avenue. We see some evidence of that, evidence of donuts in the streets. And we went out and did some observations and collected speed data, and we found that it is, in fact, speeding is an issue here. And we confirmed with our crash statistics that these streets could benefit from a safety redesign. So that's why we're here, for those reasons.
And one more question. Rest in peace to Kamari Hughes. I know a lot of us here black. Why, I know you're the DOT, you oversee Brooklyn. Why they decided in Fort Greene, I know it's Brooklyn Community Ward 3, why they decided to add, instead of them putting a speed bump and doing daylighting, at the same spot in Myrtle and Portland, why they decide to put more bike racks and rocks and a cheap speed bump over there? And will you be solution for the school situation to put bike racks and cheap speed bumps, and instead of you putting daylighting, instead of you extending the streets and daylighting around those areas?
So I can't speak to the Myrtle and the Portland?
Yeah.
The Myrtle and Portland location, but I can tell you that our scope includes a variety of tools that we've used in the past and that work well, including daylighting, including protective bike lanes, working to shorten crossing distances, signal phasing solutions that help improve safety across intersections. But I can't speak to that.
And one more question: are you going to put more speed cameras in those areas where the schools are at, like more speed cameras, and start enforcing where the speed cameras are at?
You can answer that. Where they're prioritized and where they go?
There is currently set number of cameras throughout the city, and those locations are set out based on injuries, and these locations get re-evaluated every couple of years, and the cameras get relocated. We do not have any ability to put additional cameras on the street until New York State changes the law.
It's a state law in terms of getting entries on speed cameras.
Well, I thought Sammy's law changed that. Well, Sammy's law. Recipes of Sammy equals Sammy, but Sammy's law.
Is it in effect yet?
Sammy's law is in effect. Sammy's law does not allow us to put more speed cameras on the street. The number of cameras on the street remains the same.
If I'm not mistaken, that law is more about speed limits, right? Not the
It is
cameras.
about speed limits.
So we are by follow the speed limits. We are adjust the speed limits in those areas where the school zones are. Like instead of you putting from 25, put it at 15, or put it at 10 miles per hour. That probably saves more lives instead of putting at 20 miles per hour.
We will consider reduced speeds and also road diet. So all the designs that we are proposing here are aimed to reduce speeding in the corridor. What we find is that combination of speed limits and physical design elements to reduce speeding work together in tandem best.
Okay. Yeah.
Alright. If I can add to maybe help answer a couple of those questions.
Yeah, of course.
It was brought to my attention that school principals from around Wingate will ask for some of these to be implemented.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's some sort of shadowy organization pushing these. There are principals begging for these to be installed.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Second thing I want to also add is, it's also been, there have been studies that show that people will tend to disobey speed limits if the street they're driving on looks like it's more built for 30 miles per hour than 15. So narrowing the street tends to help people kind of curb that speeding habit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a way to add multiple ways to kind of get people to actually abide by the law.
Yeah.
You got a question on here?
Yeah.
Okay, you say narrowing the street. Nostrand Avenue is narrow with the bus lane. And they speed down here day and night on Nostrand Avenue.
Good point.
I'm across Empire Boulevard. The traffic is hectic. The lights don't even mean anything. We need those speed cameras to start checking. Plus, we need police patrols across Empire Boulevard in that area. There isn't any. I'll tell you straight up, there isn't any. I've been living here 57 years and I can tell you. These are the corrections that really need to go into place. And find those guys speeding because you start finding them, they'll slow down. You start getting those tickets.
Alright. I mean, I see him speed too. I live there, so Alright, I'll see you too.
May I? Yeah. I want to speak to what you're saying about the schools. It's your focus. I'm a teacher and I live here in CB9. I was biking up to Bushwick for 8 years, and this year I work here in CB9. I'm speaking here as a cyclist. Conditions are awful out there and they've gotten worse since the pandemic. We're being forced to weave in and out of moving traffic. It's a really terrible situation with the aggressive drivers. And to that end, I'm wondering, what kind of public relations campaign could be considered to sort of put the public relations campaign for sharing the road, biker safety, And secondly, I want to speak to your with the schools. I'm pretty sure that the numbers on Vision Zero have been moving backwards. It's not. It's no. It's just the true facts. And I'm wondering that what you're doing feels too small, too little, too late. If you're doing this school, could you do every school in Brooklyn, and why not? So that's a. And then what about a corridor, a safe corridor from our area to North Brooklyn? I tell you, I've biked the Bushwick every day for 8 years, and that was a nightmare. It's dangerous out there. Any bicyclists could agree. So those are my two questions. One, public relations campaign, and two, why aren't we moving more, faster, bigger? Do it for citywide. Like, this is one block of schools. I know another block of schools. We all do. So thank you. That's all. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, so first question was, are there any sort of outreach campaigns or PR campaigns? There are. I can't speak to them with a lot of detail. There are different campaigns for different modes. We have an in-house street ambassador team that goes out and talks to road users about how to operate the most safely. We have a safety education team that goes to schools and teaches students about how to operate safely. The central tenet of Vision Zero is the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. We're engineering.
Yeah.
We're working, we're doing some education on our own. We're also working with DOE on that. And then the enforcement, of course, is the police piece.
Oh, where are they?
No comment. The second question was, why aren't we doing this everywhere? I agree, we want to do more. There's a few things. One is that making major changes to a roadway is tricky. We need to analyze the potential impacts. We need to understand them. And like we're doing today, we need to go around and gather feedback and try to build consensus and work with people. I think historically, just coming through and saying we're redesigning the whole city in one way is backfired. But we...
Well, what the schools, even your targeted aim of the schools for that to keep it more, smaller.
I'm certainly looking to increase the work around schools.
Yeah, certainly.
And
Thank
if you
you.
have any ideas of the other schools, please let us know and we can.
I mean, you have the data.
And we had 2 questions here. I'm going to just, do you have them? Go ahead and ask.
School kids. I would agree.
Oh, sorry. My name is Yassi. I actually work for the school. I'm the director of transportation, one of our local schools. I drive a bus. Happens to be that corridor as part of my.
Which school?
United Baptist Church. It's one of the big boys' schools here in Christ. I grew up, lived here all my life. Just when I saw this proposition, I didn't know there was a meeting initially. I would have actually come because I have a stake in this. There's a few things. The idea of the protected bike lane is personal and in my professional experience. As when you park your car, you usually like letting off your kids out of the thing. I had many times where I parked in the park, and on one hand, we want the kids to go out onto the sidewalk, let them off to the sidewalk, and then there's cyclists on that side, and you have the cars on that side. So I personally feel that it's a flawed design, if I may say so. It may protect cyclists, fine, but people who are parking their cars with children that want to go to the park or get off at their sidewalk, there's no way to do that because cyclists blatantly disregard the law, traffic law. Many times where I'm letting off children, where cyclists disregard the red lights, the bus red lights, they squeeze in between the parked cars, and it's very dangerous. I get very scared, and I've spoken to countless other colleagues, bus drivers, that cyclists totally disregard, and then you have the mopeds also, the scooters, and it's a whole mesh of things. So the idea of putting a protected bike lane actually makes it dangerous for the children getting on and off the bus, besides the fact of children who are parking want to get onto the sidewalk safely. I went through the proposal. I understand what is trying to be brought. Like I said, I drive daily multiple times a day through that area. So I can understand like Wingate is very wide. I actually thought like the idea of making a two-way street or put speed bumps for it. You know, there's ways to do it. Like without putting a bike lane, like you can even put a bike lane, but not like a protected bike lane, which hinders, and especially children that are going to school over there at Wingate. And like also like the turning, the idea of Brooklyn Avenue, taking off part of the parking, making a turn lane. The Kingston Avenue and Brooklyn Avenue are both heavy traffic areas. And I know like cars are flying down Brooklyn Avenue. There is a speed camera on Brooklyn and Sterling Street. And I, you know, there is, I think speed bumps, I think a lot of the problems. Like I said, I lobbied speed bump from my school, still haven't gotten one. I mean, the location of our school. And on one location we have, and on another location we still haven't gotten one. But like, and also on Maple Street, you have that bike lane that, when alternate side, when people park, trucks and buses can't get through because it's so narrow to weave through. So those are my concerns for safety, as well as when cars are double parked, which this is New York City, we're not gonna say can't double park, everybody double parks. So if you narrow the lanes, what happens is trucks and buses can't get through, backed up traffic, you know, and then somebody tries to get through, knocks off a mirror, we have a problem. There's, like the community board, I would like to address enforcement for speed. There's plenty of speeders throughout the area, drag racers, they cover their plates, they have ghost plates, or whatever it may be. I know like on Brooklyn and Lefferts by the school, the girls' school over there, there's a no turning. Once in a while, there's a police car there that actually enforces that. There's no police enforcing. In my close to 10 years of driving a school bus, twice had I had a police officer pull over somebody who grabbed my red lights, nearly hitting children. In front of police officers, and people do it all the time. But I think the idea of this protected bike lane on that corridor, especially in Brooklyn, is, you know, where people will live and need to go to their cars and pick up their children and whatnot. I think it's a bad idea. Straight up.
All right, so I will respond to it. Thank you for your comment, really appreciate you coming. I'll tell you a few things, I think in response to your comments. One is that we've installed protected bike lanes all over the 5 boroughs, a ton in Brooklyn, and we've seen consistent major drops in pedestrian injuries. They're really, it's kind of counterintuitive because you think protected bike lane, cyclists would be the biggest beneficiary of this change. But we see pedestrian safety improve more even than bike safety, and it's because of all the things that come with protected bike lanes. The way we physically narrow the roadway, we shorten the crossing distances. We have installed them, I'm trying to think around here, on next to Prospect Park at Flatbush, on Prospect Park West, on Parkside, and on all those we've seen as pedestrian safety benefit. Now, dropping children off in a school bus is a challenge. Absolutely, we understand. But you know, we've installed these in many locations, in residential neighborhoods, in commercial neighborhoods, and next to schools.
We have multiple protected bike lanes that we installed next to schools over the years.
My experience has been negative. My kids were getting out of the car, and many times cyclists, I dropped off children by Prospect Park, for instance. I had to have staff like physically stand there because cyclists completely disregarded the kids getting off the bus, and the stoplights were out.
Now,
The
may I
red lights
interrupt?
were out.
Can I respond to that for a second?
Sure.
A lot of these bike lanes have like little buffers, right? Those little zones where cyclists don't ride,
Right.
so that they don't get hit by the door. But they also serve as really useful places where someone can stand and not have a bike hit them.
Correct.
I want to ask, were those children getting out of the car and walking into the bike lane, or were they standing in the safe zone?
So I was parked in a parking spot,
Yeah.
and I had a left door, and I was able to get on, put them straight on the park. I've done many times. I don't want to block traffic.
All right, so just briefly to finish answering your questions. So this is a cross section for a lot of the proposal, not for every block, but this is from Lefferts to Rutland on both Brooklyn and Kingston. There's a buffer we always install between protected bike lane, between a curbside bike lane and a floating parking lane, so that you can open your door and get out with, you know, cyclists don't get hit, right? That's part of it. And also, as part of this design, we would be installing a extra wide parking lane on one side of the street, which has a couple advantages. One, while you shouldn't double park, we do know it happens. And so this is a way that when somebody does double park, you know, a normal sized vehicle is about 7 feet wide, you can get out of the way and other vehicles can still pass. That also means that at the intersections, we can install a curb extension that's shortens the crossing distance here by 13 feet.
Also by putting one lane on Brooklyn and Kingston Avenue, the traffic is already
All
backed up.
Now let me answer. So as part of our proposal, and sort of this goes to your question of why we aren't doing more everywhere, is that we need to study a major change in feasibility. So to do this project, we collected traffic data at every intersection that's part of it, down Brooklyn Avenue. And we looked at from different times of the day, how many cars are going straight, how many are turning, what's the modal split, is it, how much of it is taxis versus trucks versus buses versus passenger vehicles. And we have our whole traffic engineering department build a big traffic model and calibrate it to match existing conditions. And then we make changes to see what it would do. And in this case, the volumes on Brooklyn Avenue, they are pretty heavy coming off of Eastern Parkway, but they thin as you go lower, and about a third of the traffic turns onto Empire. And so based on our analysis and some tweaks we would be making to the signal timing and other things, we're confident that Brooklyn Avenue, south of Empire, can function as one lane.
Right, but yeah, the road is narrow from Empire to Lefferts, it's very narrow. And the 2 lanes are effectively 1 lane. Like when I drive my bus, I go down the middle because otherwise I'll be side-swiping cars left and right. And there's double parked vehicles that whole corridor.
That is an interesting point, and that's a piece of feedback we've been hearing a lot
Actually, probably,
about that
there's
walk.
probably a good argument for it to be one lane. One, like,
Right.
adequately sized lane.
Correct. But like adding a protected bike lane would make it even worse.
Another thing.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Another thing, I guess
Okay,
we all can
so
bring
we have
witness
one
to,
question in the back here. I don't know.
a lot of these bikes are written on the sidewalk that should be outlawed by the state, but the state is not doing
It
it.
is outlawed, but no enforcement.
Okay, no enforcement. They ride on, you have to jump out there, coming in the door here tonight, I had to move out the way of a bike on the, motorbike on the sidewalk. The laws need to be enforced. If the laws were enforced here in the communities, we would have less problems.
I completely agree. I'm very frustrated when people bike in the sidewalk. I live in the district as well, and out front in my apartment, playing with my 5-year-old son, and somebody in e-bike comes whipping down the street. It's absolutely infuriating. But something that we've seen citywide is that when we install bike lanes, particularly protected bike lanes, people stop biking on the sidewalk as much. Part of it is that when people feel like they don't have a place to bike, and this is not okay, but sometimes they just go on the sidewalk. But if there's space allocated for bikes, we have much better.
Sir,
One second, so we have one question. We're waiting for a lot back here, Matt. Yeah, you go.
Hi, I was here at your previous meeting. I have a couple of things that I want to say, but I just want to make it brief because I see that you're not taking notes, so I don't know how you're gonna follow up.
It's all
back to
here.
back. Okay. The Vision Zero,
It's also recorded, by the way.
Vision Zero, I guess it was modeled after, Vision Zero in Sweden. And so here in the United States, especially in New York, we're a more capitalist, city. And so although we're talking about safety, and I'm talking about safety for everybody, it ain't just about the bikes and it ain't the pedestrian, it's for everyone. We're introducing more things onto the road. The Ubers, the Lyfts, the Zip, the this, the that. So the car owner, I've been living in the neighborhood over 50 years, it seems as if some of us are being penalized for owning the car, but other things are not being enforced. Because like yesterday, I was waiting on the corner of Eastern Parkway and Bedford Avenue. The light changed and the person on the bike cut right in front of my car. Right in front of my car. I just missed hitting that person by inches. So that would have been my fault. My insurance would have probably had to pay for that person. They didn't have a helmet on. But I'm not trying to bash the bikers because if that's what you want to do, you have the right to ride the bike. So I'm just saying, I'm looking at some of the slides, and I noticed that some of the areas now, it doesn't appear that there's stop lights at all the corners where the schools are. And you mentioned something about the speed light cameras, you only have X amount of cameras. So one, I would like to know, have you did a survey to see the effectiveness of the cameras that you have there? And I think you said you might be able to reallocate some of the cameras, if that's what you said. We can run back on the tape to see if that's what you actually said, to see if possibly we can reallocate some of those in that particular area. And I wanted to know if there was a meeting with FDNY and the police department for the emergency vehicles to go to the locations to see if some of the things that we've introduced, for example, possibly the city bikes, whether they're in the curb or on the sidewalk, does that impede the apparatuses that may be coming to save someone's life? Because we have these other things that are in place. I know we're talking about bottlenecking and different things like that, but is more people coming to the table? You know, this bus driver here, did you have the bus driver union come and put their input in to see how we, as a community at large, could somehow think of something, because you talk about education, enforcement, and engineering. When you talked about you're checking stuff and you're collecting this data, is there someone physically going there? Or is this some type of computer program that's running based on the weight of the vehicle that goes over the thing that counts the cars? So I could go on, but I think that's enough to keep you busy for now.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Follow up, quick one. How, speaking of e-bikes, why haven't
That's my question though.
Oh,
Real short follow-up, is that okay?
yeah.
Do you want to answer the brief question first?
No, you can answer the question. I'm gonna ask my
Oh, yeah,
question.
go ahead and answer the question.
I'm gonna ask my question.
Okay, so
Yeah, no problem.
we collect our data, it's collected manually, for the turning movement counts. Our contractor installs a camera and then somebody actually watches the video and counts the number of vehicles. We also, go out ourselves, of course, and visit the site multiple times, visit it for school drop-off and pickup, for the morning and evening peak hours. And we go out there to have meetings with stakeholders, and walkthroughs if necessary.
Can you allocate the cameras that she said that there's a possibility to see if, because if you're getting tickets in a particular area, in your mind, all you need is one ticket, 2 tickets, that's it. So is there opportunity to investigate?
There's plates and the people cover their plates, so cameras are practically useless if there's no officers there.
Yeah.
To speak to the camera question, there is a very limited
Me, one
number
quick
of
question.
cameras in the city.
One quick question.
If we are moving cameras south to this location, it means we are moving them from elsewhere. So
But you said that this was based on the statistics that you provided us here, that says 71% of severe injuries were pedestrian and cyclists, and that's a total of 7 injuries out of 58 incidents. So this is about safety, right? I'm going by your data here. It's 71% of, it's just 7 people, and I'm not saying just 7 people, but what constitutes us looking at this area when you're saying that this has to do with severe injuries, but there's no, say, fatalities, even though you have a category for that?
we'll be happy to pass your recommendation for speed camera along to our engineering unit that
And
evaluates
stoplights,
those
because I didn't see
locations.
stoplights on some of the pictures here for that area, but thank you so much for the consideration.
Quick question. Quick question.
Quick one and then I'll get
All right, cool. One question. I know everybody wants to speak. How will this affect the deliveristas? Are you working to work with deliveristas, like the Los Deliveristas people, the Worker Justice Project, because they're the main ones that advocate for the deliveristas? How this is going to help them, because they be on the street instead of the bike lanes?
So I think how it would help them is that they would have a bike lane to ride a bike in. And similar to your question before about, if this is something that TA is proposing, another group is proposing, we are actively proposing this ourselves. Again, we're doing this based on the crash data
And will you change the plan to add more like charging stations for the deliveristas, because they need somebody to charge bikes and stuff like that?
We don't have any plans for them.
We don't have plans for that, but I like the idea. And if you guys, want to make a request for it,
Add charging stations around the, especially Nordstrom Avenue, because there's a lot of shops around here, and they deliver around from Nordstrom. So
Sir, are you advocating for them?
Yes.
it's America.
Rabbi Jacob Goldstein. Just ask you guys a question collectively. How many years you guys are working for DOD? Curious. Person has the most seniority on the table.
Sure, I'll answer. I've been here for 13 years.
Great. This idea showed up in 1984. I was the chairman of this community board for 34 years. I had the commissioner come, I had Kathy Keegan, she was then a borough commissioner come. The same idea, we went through this whole thing. I'm sure you're aware there's a school with 1,400 kids that sit on the corner of Lefferts and Brooklyn. And that kids are discharged, and they're near accidents almost every day with parents who go at park. This is the same disaster that I showed Kathy Keegan, and she was a commissioner of DOT. She stood on a corner with me, together with her boss, who's Manhattan, his name escapes my mind. We stood there for an hour, and she said, dead. She wouldn't have any part of it. They asked her what she saw. That's for starters. Number two, have you taken into consideration that Brooklyn Avenue is the main thoroughfare for emergency vehicles as they hurtle down Brooklyn Avenue, go to Kings County Hospital? The emergency room is over there. This will be a super disaster should it happen. Think about it. The ambulances are moving, people on bikes that are coming in and out. We'll have terrible accidents at that. Up and down that street, it's a terrible situation. That's number two. And the third thing is, I don't know if your agency is in charge, but you have inundated us and murdered us with city bikes. They're all over the place. In that corner, there's a city bike. I gotta go through the whole list of, this is causing more problems. The bikes don't move, nobody uses them, yet they're sitting parked there. So if you take everything collectively into consideration, I don't think this is a good idea. I know it's good for the bike people. They're probably the ones who are pushing it. But you're not taking in consideration the bigger picture of the community and the people who live in the community and make use of the community. I'd like to hear a response.
Thank you. So I think I can answer all those. The first one was about Beth Rivka, the school at Lefferts in Brooklyn. And that is one of our biggest concerns and why we're here. Let me see if I can get to the crash statistics. Because that intersection really popped. There it is. So for those of you who aren't familiar, there's a very large school, Beth Rivka, at the southwest corner of 1,600 girls. Sorry? Think so.
No.
Can you hear him?
We can hear you.
You can hear you.
Now I have to hear myself. Yeah. So it's a large school, and a lot of the students come from outside the neighborhood, so there's a huge concentration of buses coming and parents dropping off, and it's very chaotic. It's a very challenging situation. And we don't have details about it in this presentation, but we did meet with the school leadership, and we did hear some of their concerns, and we went back and met with them again to talk about our proposal there, which I guess I will try to describe it.
Just had it before.
Um,
No?
This is,
That is the second.
but
Yeah, but you know what, let me go to the cross-section and explain a couple of things, how the cross-section would be a little different by Beth Rivka. So you can see on Brooklyn Avenue here, I don't know if I can see this, but
That says between Empire and
oh, right, thank you, wrong block. This block. So for this block, in front of Beth Rivka, because we know that there's so much double parking on the west curb between Lefferts and East New York Avenue, that we changed the design for that block. And we probably should have, when we come back to the community board with the next formal proposal, we'll explain it more in detail. Sorry I don't have the graphics now, but narrowing the bike lane for that block, and then maintaining effectively the width of 2 travel lanes, but making what would be the right travel lane a buffer space. So basically having a dedicated space where we know during drop-off and pickup, buses are gonna pull over, parents are gonna pull over, give them space to do that allows traffic to move around them. It's something kind of similar on Lefferts itself. Lefferts has 2 pretty wide travel lanes, and our proposal is to make them more normal-sized travel lanes and paint, I think, a 5 or 6 foot buffer in front of Beth Rivka on the south side of the street. No, just painted buffer space, just to acknowledge that people are gonna be pulled over, and we want to, and sort of, one of the things that happens on Lefferts Avenue when there's a lot of double parking chaos around drop-off and pickup is that you see people start to move into the oncoming lane to get around traffic. So we're hoping that by installing some buffer space next to the school, it could be used as loading space, both on Lefferts and on Brooklyn Avenues, that we can accommodate the school. And it's not perfect, you know, it's still not enough loading space to accommodate all of the loading needs of the school. It's very challenging. We are looking into, correct me if I'm wrong, like expanding the school loading zone to the full, maybe it's already expanded to the full length of the block, or the full length of the.
For the schools, right, it's the full length of the school,
Full length.
as well as another school, like a little further than that as well. So
Yeah.
like, there's only a few houses between the two schools. One's the
May I
biggest
say
and
that experimenting and trying to do this, that, and the other will not work when a child is struck and hit, or two children, or a parent is.
I hear you, but I want to respond to that and say that we're not gonna do nothing, all right? We see this corridor, both corridors have a concentration of schools, a concentration of injuries. Outside the Beth Ruthke School, we see a chaotic situation, that's challenging for everybody.
Do you know that
And-
following, up the street is a very large daycare center? Did you know that?
I just said that.
Okay, you did, sorry. And I will also tell you that with the, when I was chairman, I forced the city, I literally, I took them down and they did it. You cannot make a turn onto Lefferts Avenue between the hours of 7 and 9, or 7 and 10. Before you could do that. When I was chair and I saw this, I went back to DOT, spoke to the commissioner, and brought him back down a second time, and that's when they changed that. So, you know, those of us who live here and breathe here, and have our children or grandchildren going, this is not a good event, what is being proposed here right now. I'm just telling you straight up. I live a block, 2 blocks away, and I see near accidents every single morning.
That's why we're here. That's why we're proposing this. I'm sorry, but you had 2 other questions. I'm blanking now. What was the second one? Emergency vehicles, thank you. So emergency vehicles is a really good one to bring up. I don't know if we have a photo of it here, but these bike lanes, believe it or not, they're wide enough for emergency vehicles. And we tell the fire department, we tell the ambulance drivers that they can fit in.
Can you? Around New York City for the last 5 years.
One second. We had a question in the back here for a long time.
5 years, we work with the fire department. We take critical patients to Kingston Avenue, like you said, from Kings County, all the way down to the one in Atlantic. We come from Atlantic, from the bridge, sometimes we come to Kings County, and we go to Maimonides, all through Brooklyn Avenue and Kingston Avenue. And no one, I can tell you from experience, if you want to talk from experience, Parkside Avenue is a disaster.
Yup.
That causes,
Mhm.
none of us.
Invite him on a ride along.
None of us are risking our job.
That's along the
or the lives
park.
of
There's plenty of
bikers
place for
on the bike
bicycles
lane.
there.
How crazy does that sound? To send an ambulance with a patient in the back down a bike lane? Is that normal? We pull up to Parkside Avenue. If there's a UPS truck or an Amazon or one of the 50 other agencies that make deliveries that's double parked, our ambulance is put into park.
Yup.
Our response time gets delayed. It's already delayed with the fire department. Our response time gets delayed an extra 15, 20 minutes. Maimonides Hospital, there's no other way we're getting there. From Crown Heights, from Bedside. I'm in this neighborhood. I go here every single Saturday night, every single Sunday night.
About to open streets.
12-hour shifts. It is catastrophic what these bikes have. Parkside Avenue is an example you said.
Mhm.
I will speak to that.
No.
I was there for 4 years before this bike lane came on, and we're there now. We park. Maimonides ambulances used to be posted on Parkside Avenue. There's a unit that used to be posted there. We're no longer there because we cannot move around. This is affecting the community in a very, very direct way. And we're already suffering from the delayed response times. I don't know why we're.
Can I say that Parkside is a different scenario, is a much higher traffic street than Brooklyn Avenue. And Parkside has a pinch point at Ocean where you can't fit in around the
I'm not talking about
Guys,
this one, I'm talking about a simple double park vehicle, and I'll give you another one. Because
I understand, I'm saying you
at
could double
Parkside-
park, somebody could double park on a street like Brooklyn Avenue, and a fire truck, like a large fire truck, can fit in the bike lane and drive it. They can't go 40 miles an hour, they
No
gotta go
one
be
is
slow and be
doing it.
careful.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, but they have cars on
No
that
one is
side.
doing it. Without meeting.
Sir? Sir?
Never in my life seen such.
Alright,
1 second, folks. We have a question.
We're never ever going to end up on a bike lane, not a fire truck, not an ambulance, not even a police car. It is so unsafe.
And you're doing along a park.
I just want to add that all our projects are reviewed by FDNY, and no project is moving forward until FDNY
A quick comment. Let me ask a quick comment. And then he. Oh, really? I know, no problem.
On a bike lane.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. Yeah, them because he's able to. The guy.
One reason you might not have seen in Crown Heights, I live in CB9. There are no protected bike lanes going north-south in this area at all. So maybe if you haven't seen it, it might be because
Parkside.
Parkside
is not. But it's the idea of a bike that ambulance is going to take a bike lane. Parkside is a disaster for emergency vehicles. It's impossible.
Can I have a quick comment? Why? Oh yeah.
I appreciate comments others have made. We were handed out this map, which I guess is from the CB9 Transportation Committee. It's a little bit different than what we're seeing here. I hope that we'll have an opportunity to discuss that as well. And that's for after. My question is that, so this is obviously a proposal for south of Eastern Parkway to create these protected bike lanes. There is Kingston Avenue above, the south of Empire. Above Eastern Parkway, Kingston has an unprotected bike infrastructure. Why does this plan stop at Empire Boulevard? Why not make protected bike lanes all the way up to Eastern Parkway?
I've asked for that.
I'm asking the folks who are here.
Well, I'll say that the width.
Yep.
It is narrower, thank you. But also, our goal was about the schools and about those injuries. Now, that doesn't mean we can't do it in theory from, or do something between Eastern Parkway and Empire. If that's something the board's interested in, please, let us know or give us a request.
You mentioned that Kingston Avenue was a corridor you were looking into. Can you say more about what you meant by that? You said Kingston Avenue was a corridor you were sort of interested in. Was it just the part south of Eastern Parkway, or Kingston has a bike lane north of Eastern Parkway?
So Kingston Avenue is a Vision Zero priority corridor, which means it has a high concentration relative to other streets in the borough of pedestrian. Kingston, the whole thing from Empire to where does it end? Atlantic. The reason we're here, complaints from the CB, complaints from the principal at Wingate High School. That's why we came here. Now, some Vision Zero priority corridors go like across the borough, right? So, the way these typically work is you start with a piece of it. If there's interest in us looking at other parts of Kingston Avenue, or the agency looking at other parts of Kingston Brooklyn Avenue, we're willing to. That's not part of this proposal.
Listen, we got schools along Nostrand Avenue here. The Catholic school, IS 61, we have a school at Winthrop and Nostrand. And it's nothing, and the area is congested with people, and there's nothing but speeding traffic. I'm still asking, why can't we get speed lights there? Don't tell me that there's only a limited amount. Take from Manhattan where they are not needed and give it to us where we need those straps to hit these guys, speed lights to try to slow down that traffic. We have schools, like I said, schools along there.
Okay, well, I want to answer the question as well. You were asking about why the bike lane is planned above. Up to Eastern Parkway. Part of the reason why is because the street does narrow a bit after Empire, right? So actually, there's a part of the plan where there is a bit of a bike lane design between Empire and there's only one travel lane. It's 10 feet wide, and that could be an issue because if an emergency vehicle stops there, traffic can't pass. Double parking can't happen because there's only enough space for 10 feet, which isn't enough for a parked car and another one pass. So essentially, a double parked car could stop an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, an ambulance from going through, the choke point, which is, in my opinion, a problem.
Yeah.
It's one of the obvious ones. But
So that's part. I think that's part of the reason why it wouldn't freely continue up to Eastern Park, or at least in the way that it looks now. That's my thought. Just
That's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, quick, well, yeah.
have two people.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Three of you, and then
Me, Wong, yeah.
I'm standing up.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to commend you guys for dealing with the safety issues of our kids, and it's really very important to us. So I know it's not easy job. To
Yeah.
do there, so I want to thank you for your hard to find that balance. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to point out about the point from Empire down to East New York. Okay, so I live on that block. I pray there every single morning at rush hour. I'm friendly with a cop who's in the corner who's very, very busy.
Is on Brooklyn?
There's a cop in the corner of Empire and Brooklyn.
Yep.
He's very, very busy every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a cop there every single morning. It is a tough place. Remember, Empire used to be a highway, 2 lanes each way. Now my kids can cross Empire. We made a lot of progress, good things. But I want to make sure that I'm a biker, a pedestrian, and a driver. Okay, so I bike, I walk, and I drive. I wear all those hats. So I know what it means to be a biker, to watch your own safety. I know what it is to watch pedestrians, and to be a driver, to make sure bikers don't kill you. So I've been in all those places. Okay, so as my own preference of mode is bike, but if I take my kid, I need a car. My kids aren't coming back my bike to go to the doctor's office. It doesn't work that way. So the problem is that Brooklyn Avenue has a few buildings, people live there. Big buildings. People need to get, they're going somewhere, they're taking an Uber. They're getting deliveries, come with a truck, right? The stores, commercial stores on Empire that park on Brooklyn Avenue. So the amount of double parked cars down Brooklyn Avenue is always double parked cars. There,
Yep.
They have no choice. You live on Brooklyn Avenue, there's no parking. I have to unload my packages, or I'm delivering to there. I must double park, okay? So the idea, let's say, of a bike lane is a discussion, but a protected bike lane, what it does is basically you force people to say one lane. Someone's unloading, the whole Brooklyn Avenue stops. The ambulances, the people, the buses, the whole story. If we just move past East New York, we're from there, the traffic, I'm sure you can check the data. I do data analysis for a living. It's very different looking at metrics and looking at real life. When you stand somewhere and watch it, it's different than looking at numbers on the screen. Data can tell you stories you want to tell. I know that. So the data, I'm sure, says what it says. But if you stood there on the corner for 3 days and just watch what happens, you will see that if we took away a lane and made a protected bike lane on that street, it would be a disaster. There are 2 ambulance stations right there in the corner. There's 2 ambulances that are there. Leave from there. Okay. There is the police station's a block away. Just remember, all those emergency vehicles are coming through. So protected bike lane is the issue. I just let you know, in Canada, where I'm from, what they do is they have plastic, they now they're using plastic sticks. Okay? So first of all, if you meet it, you don't destroy your car. It slows down the vehicles. Okay? Easy to be replaced. And if an emergency vehicle has to go through, he will go through. Right? So something in the world, if it's an emergency, can go through. So there's other solutions other than concrete and putting a bike lane that is non-movable that can change. So I get the point about narrowing the road. It all makes sense. These are solutions. They do it in some place. I never see it in here. They do it in other countries where it works. It helps narrow the road. Okay, you mentioned before, narrow roads help slow drivers down. It works, and if you do meet it, you don't destroy your car. You may get a scratch. So I just think the issue is those 3 blocks, protected bike lane. That's my biggest issue. So I think take that into consideration. Stand there and watch. We don't want our city coming to a standstill because we have to balance the risk and also we have to live. Empire Boulevard is a parking lot the entire day. Traffic is terrible. I don't use my car, only if I must. I use my bike or I walk. But still, when I have to go out, it's impossible. And for emergency vehicles, it's not an option. So, thanks for taking my thoughts. Please take it seriously. I know it's not an easy job, but remember the people that live here, it's day-to-day life that matters to us. And these little things have a huge impact on our life. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your we will take into consideration what you're saying and spend some more time looking at conditions around Empire and Lefferts and New York on Brooklyn. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm Suki Haddock, I'm a resident here for 30 years. I'm a biker, don't own a car. I bike to work. I bike to all my errands in Kingston and Crown Heights. I'm not for a bike lane. And I'm a practical person on Kingston Ave, a mitigated disaster. And I'm a biker. I never have a problem really going up Kingston Avenue. You're going to put a bike lane there. When someone double parks, someone has to park in, has to back into a parking spot. You're going to stop traffic totally. And I think it's actually going to be a little more dangerous for people walking, and traffic already is slow. It's going to stop totally. You got to be practical. I agree. You have to have it's called mixed use. You have to understand, and you have to understand this community. I'm sure you do. There's a big Jewish community, and we're Orthodox. So Shabbos, there's 2 days of Shabbos. There's Thursday and Friday. People come Kingston Avenue. I know you're shaking your head. They double park. They have big kids' families, like this man said. And they come to Kingston Avenue for doctors, for food, etc., for the pharmacy. That, you're saying you're having parking lane, and one line. Yeah, what happens when someone double parks? What happens when someone tries to back into a spot? It's gonna stop, totally. It's not really fair, it's not really taking into the needs of the community. You also have an elderly population here. Jewish, African-American, Caribbean. And not everybody wants to jump on a city bike to get to their doctor's appointment. And what are you gonna do when you're stuck in traffic coming up Kingston Avenue, which you always be, and you can't stop, you can't park. So you're gonna double park. It's gonna even be slower. I think it's a disaster on Kingston Avenue. And I bike every day to work up Kingston Avenue. I pray there on 770. I bike home down Albany Avenue. I do all my errands. I get along fine. And I think there's bike lanes are great. There's an importance to them, but you got to balance the type of community you have to the need that you have. And I think doing that, I don't think you're going to see the consequences of it. It's not going to be what you're looking for. You're going to look at your bike's going to be able to go up. Everybody else can be a standstill. Not everybody can get on a city bike.
Thank you, and I
If I
agree.
could ask a
Go
clarifying
ahead.
question also. I remember you said Kingston Avenue. Which part of Kingston are you referring to?
I'm talking about practically from Empire up to
Eastern Parkway.
Okay.
Okay, so just to clarify, the proposal we're talking about here is from Winthrop up to Empire, not between Empire and
That's
Eastern
what I'm
Parkway.
saying.
But also, I just want to reiterate that cyclists are not the only beneficiaries of protected bike lanes. I finally got the statistic up. We see on average, a 21% drop in pedestrian injuries when we install protected bike lanes. We did a study 2 years ago about safe streets for seniors.
Do you have current data that says 2007 to 2007?
Oh, that was brought up last time.
I'm gonna address that for a second, okay?
This community board 9 now.
People who are calling 2017 data old, I don't think there's anything that any abilities that cars have gained since then.
No, but there's something that's happened since then.
From 35 to 25.
Based
but the
on
behavior of
pandemic
vehicles is
and
still
different things now,
generally
we have
the
more
same.
delivery.
And you have a
we
lot more
different
cars now.
Different things.
A lot more vehicles.
Yeah, but you see the thing
More
about
city bikes, so there's different dynamics now in the last 7 years, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay, I just want to point out that we found that for seniors, the results, I don't have it in front of me, it was something like 35% drop. So it was an even bigger benefit for seniors, because I think their seniors are.
Can I have some more later, but you had a question as well?
Yeah, I guess more of a comment. I bike every day. I also drive. I prefer the parking assisted bike lane in park when I'm driving. Almost always, when there's a double parked car, which is always, I cannot move forward at a green light because there's always bikes coming through, and I don't blame them because there's the double parked cars. Having that park lane, like park protected bike lane, is just so nice because I know I'm not gonna hit a car. It's just really a lot safer like that. And really, I guess my comment is like, I think the double parking is the issue. Like my family's from South Brooklyn, we're a bunch of drivers, we double park. But I think now it's like there's just so many fucking Amazon trucks on Mill Street and Brooklyn Avenue. So many, yeah, it's just like, really I think it's like these huge trucks will park for hours and just get away with it. Like, is there anything DOT can do to like really get these huge vehicles from South, like double parking, like more tickets?
It's gonna bring your prices up.
Yeah, we have a question.
The tickets are consumers take response. When you buy something, when you buy food, they pass it on.
No, you can take this one.
They're not taking the hit.
Sure.
Well, if I can respond to that, I can respond to that. I'll respond to it. I mean, I don't think people are gonna try to prevent delivery trucks from doing their job because, I mean, we all wouldn't really expect an Amazon truck to try to find a park before delivering to one block and then trying to find another park someplace else so you can deliver to a different block. So I think they're gonna double park, we're gonna generally accept that
UPS
for now.
in my experience, UPS and DHL, their drivers actually are the best double parkers. No, I'm being serious, because they are very considerate to the traffic.
Yeah.
Whereas, but they are the most considerate out of all the double parking trucks. Whereas FedEx, Amazon, the post office,
They don't care. I'm here.
Can we add to this statistic, the new response time for PDN, EMS, and FDNY?
That's a great idea.
These statistics are very nice for the bikers. What's the ratio? How many people are being injured and hurt because the medical attention is being delayed to get to them rather than bikers being safe? Why don't we start that statistic?
Fatality rate.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you were about to respond. So, as the gentleman said, thank you for being here. You're doing excellent work. The Department of Transportation obviously has the experts and the data. And so my concern is that, as we know, the Vision Zero numbers are going backwards. The measures you're proposing, proven to save lives in cities and countries all over the world. And I'm wondering why we're so far behind the curve on basic safety measures when it feels like, I emailed the DOT responsible individual about this, and they responded to me, which was very nice. But it's obvious to everyone in here that the Jewish community is against this. Jewish leaders are on the record saying they're blocking protected bike lanes on Bedford, and now again, you guys are obviously very upset about this lane. So, but it feels undemocratic to me to let a small minority community.
I provide medical attention to all.
I know that. You're not alone.
That was very effective with turning that to
The roads were built 50 years ago on purpose. You're taking those roads away from us.
I didn't ask y'all.
You're taking those roads away from us. Those roads are taking away from us. Those roads were built before we were born. Those roads were built for trucks to get stuff to the grocery, for us to get to stores, for us to get to work. You're taking those bicycle lanes. You're taking those roads away from us. That's it. It's not even a minority. It's the roads that we have that are being taken away from us.
Let's speak one at a time, please.
Yeah.
Excuse me, let's have one conversation.
Sir, can I ask you a question? Yes. All right, so.
Yes.
My question, why can't city, state, and federal mandates save lives instead of bowing down to one interest group?
This is a racist
Hold
comment.
on, full stop.
Number one. Number two,
Wait,
again,
wait,
you're taking those roads away from us. Those roads are not new roads.
Hold on.
They were there for 20 years, 30 years.
The drivers, yes, the drivers.
Us guys, the only two drive cars.
We're still going
I didn't say
This is
Jews.
called democracy. This is called democracy.
Hold on, Eric.
This is called, it's DOT, not democracy. This is called democracy. The people who live here, who are impacted.
I live here.
Like, good, so you have your opinion.
I do.
And I expect your
And I
respect
asked
your
that the
opinion.
board could answer my question.
I respect your opinion.
Then
but
why are
my-
you
my
shouting at
issue
me
is-
down?
No, my issue is when it's not your opinion, it becomes us against them, and that's my issue.
I'm sorry,
You're entitled to your opinion like I'm my opinion.
I'm one of the
but
few
now it
people
becomes
who's
us
asked
against
a
them.
question here tonight.
That's
Everybody
not
has a
okay.
comment. Let's
It's
ask
not okay?
questions.
It's not okay. That's all.
Everybody
All right.
has a
Can't
comment.
go unsaid. It's not okay.
I
That's
know,
not okay.
I know. I'm sorry
That's
for
it.
going out
That's all I'm
there,
gonna say.
but I
Thank
want to
you.
ask federal, state, and city mandates to protect lives, because the numbers don't lie. You know the death count.
Numbers do lie. I do data analysis for a living. You can tweet it how you want.
I'm a math teacher. I know I do
You're a math
too.
expert. I do the business. Keep me alive.
Come on.
Just keep me in
All
mind.
right.
Allow this gentleman to
One more
answer
question
me,
over here,
please.
sir. Other comment, okay?
Enough comments.
Okay, enough. Okay, we had roads.
Do you want to answer why the state is, in his opinion, being racist?
No, I didn't say that.
Then follow me.
I haven't used that word. Don't put words in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, why are you?
I want to say a fact, okay, with reality check. These are roads that were used, like I said before, in the 70s, 80s, these are roads that were used for cars to drive, for trucks, for the economy to go. Okay, number one, the economy is the artery. The roads are the artery of economy. When you block those arteries, the economy slows down. Trucks can't get to the grocery stores. If you have a refrigerator who breaks, and even bicycles have refrigerator that breaks, And now, because I do home appliance repairs, it was $75 a phone, now it's $260 a service call, because the time it takes for my guys to get to your house. So all that, you have to take consideration. Also, talking about taking, again, you're taking roads that we've been using, it's taking away from us. So you have to explain that. A reality check is this past Friday, I live on Montgomery Street. I walked at President's 5 blocks. There was an ambulance, a city ambulance, not a cell, a city ambulance for everyone, okay? I walked. I wasn't in a rush because it's Friday. Okay, I got to President Street. The ambulance was still back in Couch. That ambulance. Okay. Now, fact. If anyone drives in Crown Heights, you see there's on Bedford, there's a white bicycle over there. All right, that's a lady, a young girl, a Jewish girl. She was driving. Apparently, her bicycle malfunctioned, and she went flying down into the intersection of Empire and went into a car. And that was it. It had nothing to do with the car speeding. It had to do with her. They don't have. We have on cars. We have a safety inspection we have to do. Bicyclists don't have any requirements. They don't have to have any safety. A lot of accidents happen because of bicycle malfunction due to poor maintenance on the bicycle. A lot of bicyclists get into accidents because they're going at crazy speeds. When you should know, I'm more scared when my kid crosses one of those protected lanes, because the cars know to look out for us, and they have a responsibility. They have insurance, they have responsibility, they have a liability. Bicycles don't give a crap because nothing happens to them. Okay, and we had a lot of close calls on Prospect Park on nice streets where kids, they figure it's a bicycle lane, you know how quick the car, and a bicycle comes zooming from nowhere, just come. So I'm walking down the street, Empire Kosher. You guys know Empire Kosher? And this lady is like very, very, very casually going into the parking lot, so she goes and she stops because there are people on the street. This other guy, I see him driving the bicycle so quick. I look and he knows he eyes me. He's still looking at me while he's riding the bicycle. He impacted that car so badly. He went airborne, but he put a massive dent into the vehicle. What I'm saying is a lot of these accidents happening, not only because of the cars, but because people, or because of bicycles, have in a lot of cases, they're guilty for the accidents that happen. Most of the times. Okay. The fact is, ambulances, streets. I went Parkside during COVID when they had this Parkside. You could block the street. I had a crazy experience right where the hospital is on this Park Slope. Some people decided to put a swimming pool right in the street, and I'm like, yeah, you guys can't do it because there's a hospital here, and if one of your kids drowned, if there's a kid stuck in an elevator, someone falls up, you can't. You know, there's got to be a limit. There's got to be responsibility. Okay, so, and another thing is, and I'll tell you as an electrician, I'll close my comment like this. What causes a heating element to get hot is we have electric, goes to metal which conducts heat, and they mix with material that doesn't conduct heat. So it slows down the electric, causes it to heat up. When people have to get to place A, I know when police have to place A to place B, and they cannot get there, it causes road rage, it causes people to go crazy. It causes people to want to drive over because they cannot get to. As a father, I had times where I had to get to my house before my kid gets home, because if he gets home and nobody's there, and I got delayed. So all these things have to be taken consideration. I started driving and someone behind me, I got really upset at them. I was only teach them lessons until I was in that situation. Now I know if someone beats behind me, I move aside because I don't know if he's trying to get to school before to get to his house before his kids get there. And I don't know if he just got a call that his kid was rushed to a hospital and he's in a rush to get there. I don't know if this guy has to catch a flight. So if I'm out of rush, I pull over to the side. You have to take consideration. Just like blood has to go through our vessels. Slowing it down is not necessarily gonna. Sure, someone has high blood pressure, you give them pills, but if you overdose on it, it's gonna kill the whole. It's gonna kill the whole concept of prices going up has a lot to do with economies being slowed down and people having a harder time getting things to place A to place B. And everybody's affected. I don't care if you've just started a bicycle and you never went to a car in your life. At the end of the day, you still got to go to a grocery, buy food, and you still need a guy to fix your appliance. You still need the elevator to be repaired. And those guys, the longer it takes them, they charge them an hour from the time they get into the thing. The longer it takes them to get a place to be, the longer it's going to take. The more expensive it's going to hit everyone. Okay, when the bicycle breaks and they need a new tire, it's going to cost them triple the amount of price because you have more to buy lanes. Done. Okay.
Yeah, Kat?
We have one question in the back over here.
Just a comment, you don't have to answer.
Yeah, no problem.
First of all, I just want to say that, yeah, the comment that claimed the Jewish community was universally against the bike lanes is just like, hey, like, out of line and also just, like, not true. I am a Jew who lives in the community and I adamantly support the bike lane.
They didn't say universally.
And like, as a construction worker who, you know, often is working in Brooklyn, I'm biking early in the morning in you know, in the dark in the winter, and that like having a protected bike lane feels like very important to my safety and my coworkers and union brothers and sisters' safety, and that I really want to see this bike lane. And I also, double parking has kept coming up. I'd like to know why in this plan and like future plans, you know, we've been talking about deliveries and double parking, why there aren't like designated delivery zones being added to blocks. In this plan is like in general.
Why don't we remove some of the parking lanes and make them only loading zones?
Yeah,
On
the
the north-south streets, barely anyone could park anyways. 10 people fit on the whole block. 10 cars.
Also
fit
help
a whole
with
day.
construction.
We like that idea, but I just want to point out that would mean removing full-time parking spots. Which has been a but it sounds like there's support for this concept of installing extended loading zones
On avenues, that's streets, avenues.
I think that it would be a little bit out of place. There's already a lot
I
of
have the next two
parking
questions
spots.
on here.
Okay.
Earlier, and then-
All right, so I want to know, like, what are there any open streets applications being submitted to this community board? Because if they, I know this is going to go through. I know this mostly going to go through with the community board because we got Paco Abram on the as a community member, and he's captain of the Transalt. I want to know, will there be any bike open streets being declined? Because if you put open streets there, it's gonna make it worse for the Hatola. I know Hatola, they do emergency, and you put open streets in certain areas, it's gonna make it hard for everybody else. It's gonna be hard for them.
I just want
to
to
drop
get
it.
clarification. Are you asking if there's currently any open
Streets.
in the neighborhood or in this area?
And are there any applications being submitted? Or they? I know we all know Transall is doing this. Transall is giving these applications, setting everything up.
I had no, but you know, if anyone has the right to apply.
But why you gonna put open streets where you got these bike lanes? But you gonna install these bike lanes in this
Well,
area?
the bike lanes aren't there yet. So and when we review applications, we look at the physical structure as is at the moment, and these applications are temporary.
But-
It's just not, you know, it's all very circumstantial. But there are none that I can speak of at the moment.
But eventually they're gonna put open streets. They're gonna put open streets in this community
For
board.
the future, I can say that people can apply if that constituents wish to do so.
I mean, for me, the applications do come to the community board's way. I don't know of any that are currently pending, but we've gotten them. They were open streets in September, I believe August. Eastern Park was open street for a while.
I was talking about DOT. I'm talking about like nonprofits putting one in, because like in North Brooklyn they have one ran by some like organization called North Brooklyn Parks, and then they got.
Stick to the issue at hand.
Yeah, no, it's just related to transportation. Because if you put open streets in your district, in your Hasidic area, y'all gonna be crying to the DOT in the mayor's office. So
We'll deal with that one. Well, people can submit with applications because there's no like restrictions on those right now that I know of.
Yeah.
And it does come to the community board.
They do come, so if there aren't any coming right now, basically people haven't submitted them. It's not for any other reason.
All right.
I think I have two, hello? I think I have two, I do have a question, but I have 2 points. One is you have Vital Brooklyn coming in with 11 towers in that community, right? With no parking, right? So that means you're about to sit there and increase the density in that community that has a lot of support services, so there's gonna be a lot of need for a lot more cars and a lot more people and a lot more services coming into that immediate area. So the first question is, have you taken into consideration the fact that you're increasing the density is going to be coming, and taking into account all of the parking and all of the transportation that's going to be needed for those 11 buildings while you are planning this plan? Because that's what good planning does, right? It anticipates. So that's the first question. The second question is, you know, you have all of these schools and you have all of these children, and they're all walking, and now you have bike lanes that were never there before. Now, we've already seen all of the accidents that happen where children are walking and bikes are running through 20 miles, 30 miles an hour because they don't have to be licensed, they don't have to be monitored, And now what you're doing is you're actually increasing the flow of bikes. By putting bike lanes, you're actually increasing the flow of bikes, knowing that there is a serious issue with casualties when it comes to bikes, motorized bikes in particular. Now, the last time you was here, I asked you for a specific thing, and I wanted to find out if you gave it to me. I asked you for the statistical analysis of all of the harm, the statistical analysis of all of the accidents that have happened since 2019, or doing a comparison between 2010 and 2024, and has there been an increase in casualties caused by motorized bikes or motorized vehicles that are not four wheels? And I asked you for that, because you said.
You did ask me that, and that was brought up before when you weren't here.